Hi, everyone. Welcome to this ATP video podcast episode. I'm joined by Malathi Renati, the head of the policy school at the Takshashila Institution. Today, we're going to be discussing India's silver economy and the rising aging population in our country. And we both have firsthand experience of what it is like to take care of our of seniors at home as primary caregivers. We have that experience, and so along with sharing our personal experience, we're going to structure this such that we can talk about the Samaaj, Sarkaar, and Bazaar model of looking at analyzing the situation that our country is in, and we look at government policies in place, how the markets have been responding to the increase of demand of the demand, because our aging population is increasing every year,
Right.
and how and basically what are the services that are in place that exist for this demographic, and what maybe we could do better. What are the things in place? And so maybe you can give us an overview of what the policies are in place right now. What are our demographics? What does the situation look like today?
Yeah, thanks first, Leah.
Yeah.
And Leah is the program manager of a Defense and Foreign Affairs program at the Takshashila Institution. She's been with us for more than 3 years now at the Takshashila Institution. So thank you, Leah, for this. I think it's an interesting conversation that I think is important that we have now, because many of the policies that we put into place will be effectively implemented, and we'll see the results 25 years down the lane. And that's when we'll be going through some of the data, and that's when we will start seeing that there'll be a drop in the younger population, and the older population starts to gradually increase, right?
Yeah.
So just to zoom out, in India, as you know, is now the most populous nation. We've crossed China. We have 1.5 billion and counting. We also are the fourth largest economy, right? And even they're the fastest growing economy as well. And the advantage we have at this point in time is that we're a young nation.
Yes.
So 60% of our population is below 35 years at this point in time. This is also instrumental in kind of ensuring that we are kind of having that surge, and the policies that we have put in place, or rather what we had put in place a few decades ago, is kind of, we're seeing the results of that now.
Yeah.
But it also means that we need to plan for the future, because with the growing aging population, currently seniors, which is 60 years plus, are around 7 to 10% at this point in time. But we look at 2050, and I'm using 2050 because it's 25 years from now. So 25 years from now, the senior population would be around 20 to 25, which is 1/5 or quarter of our population. And the youth, which currently is 60%, will drop to 35 to 40%.
Right.
This is all. And one interesting point is that our life expectancy back during the independence time, 1947, was just 32 years.
Right.
Imagine, just 32 years, prime of your life, and
Wow.
back in 1947. Whereas now the life expectancy has grown to 70.8, so roughly 71 years, and a bunch of factors. Obviously, with the growing economy, better living conditions, the youth education, the urbanization, and of course, with like I said, the quality of living conditions. The life expectancy also has grown. Okay, but it also means that our fertility rate has also dropped over this period of time, and we have now, for the first time, gone below our replacement rate of 2.1%.
Yeah.
And which is why these numbers are also very relevant in that context, right? So the youth population is going to drop to 35-40% by another 25 years, whereas our senior population will grow from the 7 to 10% now to the 20 to 25%. And with all of this, right, we also see in relationship to Viksit Bharat, which is the developed nation by 2047, because that's 100 years of our independence, right? So the government has this mission in place, which looks at 4 demographic groups and the improvement of those 4 groups. And these groups largely are the youth, women, the poor, and the farmers.
Okay.
But the first three are more relevant to our conversation. So
Yes.
in relationship to that is why I'm just mentioning the Vikshit Bharat, because many of the schemes and the programs that have been developed by the government is looking at a developed nation and the improvement of equity and other factors for these demographic groups.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And also we need to remember, in India we are genetically predisposed to many ailments.
Yes. Yeah.
From diabetes, hypertension,
yeah.
cardio. Right,
Mm.
and then now there's increasing dementia-related, illness that have come in. Right, so we need to keep all of this in mind when we're thinking about the next 25 years, which is why policies have to be done here and now.
And even with
effective.
the advancement in medicine and healthcare, we're seeing a higher life expectancy as well.
Right.
Which means that, I mean, there's an all the more reason why we would need attention in this regard here.
Right.
So what are some constitutional directives? Are there any key laws that mandate the state to focus on this issue, on senior welfare?
Yeah, no, it's good that you mentioned this. Now, let's just look at it chronologically, right?
Yeah.
The institution, Article 41 of our institution, and which was written in 1950, has a clause, Article 41, states the right of the state for public assistance to old age. Okay, this clause, Article 41 in our constitution. So this has been written into our constitution, and there have been policies and schemes that have been derived from it. But between independence and up till the 1990s, nothing significant has been done in this area. And it's also rightly so, right?
Yeah.
When you have life expectancy of 32 years at that point in time, right? Old age per se was never really of a concern in terms of the deteriorating, lifestyle or the deteriorating factors around that. So it's only in the 90s, and this was in 1999, that we actually had the first policy on seniors. And interesting, right? It was called the National Policy on Older Persons.
Okay.
Just interesting coining of the term, right? Older persons.
Yeah.
And this policy actually looked at more of, was focusing on, looking at financial security, welfare, social, as well as abuse. Because in the 1990s, if you remember, 1991 is when the reforms came in.
Yes.
With the opening up of the markets, there was a lot of movement, even of opportunities in the cities, and likewise. So there were a lot of migration into cities by the younger population, which means that we might have had the seniors being left behind in the rural. A lot of things would have happened, right?
Yeah.
So 1999 was when the first policy came into being.
Okay.
And after that, there's no policy change as such, but there's a slew of financial related programs that the government implemented, especially in the 2000s. A lot of schemes. In fact, in 2004, we had the Senior Citizen Savings Scheme that came into effect, which effectively means that seniors can avail of higher interest rates as compared to normal fixed deposits in banks. And that came into effect in 2004. There was another interesting legal act that came in, and this was in 2007. Okay, and it was called the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act. I know, quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
But it came into being because this sort of served as a legal, a safety net, a legal safety net for seniors, because there was an increase in abuse. There was increase in terms of seniors being abandoned, especially seniors who were widowed, right? Or who were uneducated women. So that was a category that they found a lot of that happening. And this legal safety net ensures that as seniors, you are entitled to maintenance from your children or your legal heir. Okay. So this came into effect in 2007. One interesting point I just wanted to mention, and you would have seen it in the papers too recently, in Bangalore, right? We have the Victoria Hospital, which is one of the largest government-run hospitals.
Yeah.
And they noticed that there's been an increasing case of abandonment of seniors in their hospitals. Imagine. So in 2005, and from Jan till date, and we are right now in December, they found 60 cases of seniors being abandoned. So essentially, the attendant brings them to the hospital to emergency care because they require care. And once they recovered, there's nobody that they could, who essentially they
take care of them. Yeah.
Yes. They literally disowned. And the government's hospital now is looking for NGOs where they could place them. And so this kind of places a very heavy burden on even our healthcare system, because we're having these government hospitals, which as it is are stretched thin,
Yeah.
poorly funded. And when cases like this of abandonment happens, they need to identify NGOs or old age homes which can take care of them. And so the quality of life deteriorates.
Yeah.
And so we have these seniors who are literally just living out their life,
Yeah.
without their family members around. So there's
Yeah.
abuse and
Without any
abandonment
support.
was also increasing, which is why this 2007 thing came in.
Policy came into place.
Came into being. And a couple of others which I just want to mention. There've been a slew of other schemes and programs that came into being, but then the policy that was initially introduced in 1999, the national policy on older persons, it got recoined now to the national policy for senior citizens.
Right. Okay.
And this happened in 2011.
Okay.
By then, senior citizens, the definition was those over 60 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and because of the improvement, the longevity also, right? We're having people living longer. So now 60 plus was termed as senior citizens. And so when this particular policy came into being, they were looking at active and productive aging. So see the shift from earlier of looking just at financial security, at welfare. They're looking now at active and productive aging, housing, as well as safety and inclusion.
What do you mean by productive aging?
So we're now looking at this demographic as not just living their life and where they're dependent on others, but improving the lifestyle. So essentially, even at 60, you're essentially able to independently live. We have a lot of, and we'll be touching upon that in the coming section of the podcast. But we have a lot of these home care and healthcare devices that's helping seniors live independently.
A customized support for depending on the situation of each elderly person, depending on their situation.
And they necessarily don't need to be dependent on others, right? So you're able to independently and also use your finances. The financial literacy part is also coming.
Yeah.
So these are in 2011 is when this was introduced.
Okay.
The most recent one is June 2025, and the draft of the new national policy for senior citizens has been is under formulation at this point in time. And see the shift from 2011 to now. So now we're talking about empowering our senior citizens for employment as well, right? So we're not just looking at them as just going through the motions and living out their August years. We're looking at them being employable because the quality of life is improved. They're able to, as long as they're able to, that they can contribute to the economy. So we're looking at that. We're looking at digital inclusion. Okay, and financial literacy. We're also looking at the standards of old age homes or retirement homes. So the policy is also defining that, the improvement of standards there. And one important thing that's been brought in is the intergenerational integration. Okay. So this draft is kind of talking about all of these areas. So we're looking at society also here, right? We're talking about how the rest of the community can support and ensure that seniors are living a more meaningful and a more a holistic kind of life.
So it's, touching upon the financial aspect that we mentioned previously. Firstly, what would you say is the most significant government policy initiative that addresses the healthcare access that has come in place today? And there's a lot that's happened between 1999 to 2025. It's actually a short period of time considering how many years we've had since independence. So we've come quite far. We've done a lot. The government has done a lot in terms of updating the policies on senior care and taking care of our senior citizens. So what, in particularly regarding financial security for them against illness, what are the policies in place, like directives in place, government initiatives? What is the most significant ones to keep an eye out for?
The one that's most significant that I can think of is the Ayushman Bharat.
Okay.
It's also known as the PMJ, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, colloquially sometimes known as the Modi Care. This came back in 2018. So it was one of the first healthcare initiatives that the government introduced for broad basing essentially, and it covered more than 50% of our population. That's a huge amount, right? In 2018. Recently, in September of last year, 2024, it has been expanded to cover all seniors above 70 years. So they're entitled to the same 5 lakhs. In fact, the PMJ was where those who are who can and these are part of empaneled hospitals, right? They're entitled to 5 lakhs of healthcare coverage, and this could be a top up to other schemes that they have. But now the seniors also included. So 70 years plus, regardless of your socio-economic background. Earlier, it was for only those of a certain economic strata. But now this is extended only for senior citizens 70 plus. And so 5 lakhs coverage that the government will kind of provide. And they give you a health card as well. So I think this is a very significant move. I think that, and with respect to healthcare, we also have these programs that the government has introduced. This was back in 2010. It was called the National Program for Healthcare of the Elderly. And when they defined it back then, they wanted to build on the existing public health care units. So both the primary, the secondary and tertiary, extend on that and have a geriatric care.
Yes.
So essentially piggybacking on the existing PHCs and then have these geriatric cares. And this is why I'm stressing on the point that something that was a program that was brought out in 2010, and we are in 2025 now, we don't see it as widespread, right? So it takes time for these things to get implemented. So which is why we need to do things, we're already late, we need to do things now for us to ensure that 2050 has a better
there are
kind
systems
of
in place to support it. So, I mean, obviously, with a lot of these policies that have come in place, laws that have come in place, there are going to be a lot of challenges with respect to access. Not a lot of people know about this as well. So what would you say are the key challenges related to access and awareness about that would undermine the efficiency that the government is now trying to kind of push forward with?
Right, and this is a good question, Leah, because often, right, and this is the case not just in this sector, but in other sectors as well, where awareness is lacking. There's very poor awareness. Remember, the demographic divide is broadly in India is 60% in rural and 40% in the urban. Right? Though there's a lot of migration to the cities, 60% still is largely in the rural areas. Which means that them being also, especially the rural, being more aware of what kind of schemes are out there, what are they entitled to, what are their rights, how do they be more better informed citizens, right? It's been very difficult across many sectors, right? There'll be a lot of schemes, and some of these schemes come and go. Some of them are very confusing as well, and language becomes a barrier. Some of the mobile apps, though there's internet penetration, largely even in the hinterlands, the problem is in terms of the language, the literacy, the digital literacy rates in those areas. And so they are dependent on others, right? So we have something called, to try and bridge this gap, the government introduced elderly line. It's like a helpline. And it's #14567. I know the number is too large. It's a 5-digit number, #14567. And this essentially helps to offer both emotional support as well as guidance on their entitlements. This could be schemes, this could be as seniors, what are they entitled to, what they should be aware of. So this has been introduced across 33 states and union territories in India. Some states are yet to kind of roll it out, but this is one initiative that the government has done in the recent past.
So, I mean, now that we've discussed policies in place, what the challenges, some of the challenges that we have when to enforce some of these policies, I thought we could shift to the market now.
Right.
Does the market accommodate for caring of senior citizens? Do we have, does it accommodate the demand of caring for the rising population of senior citizens?
I think of the 3 pillars, right? The Samaaj, Sarkaar, Bazaar. The Bazaar is the one that, because of the demand and the increase in demand over especially the last 3 decades, right? Since the 1991 reforms, we have seen the market open up. And a lot of new, not just products. So if I would broadly categorize the areas that the markets have stepped in and that they're doing reasonably well, would be assistive and health technology.
Okay.
The second would be on the house and institutional care. So we have all these agencies that have mushroomed, which provide for 24/7 caregivers or attendants or even nurses for in a home kind of a setting. Then we also have housing and senior living that has picked up, and that's also a market that's booming. And finally, we have insurance and financial products that have come in. I'll touch upon the first one briefly, and then we'll go into the others in more detail. So with respect to assistive and health technology, right? And this could be everything from your walkers to having grab bars for safety, right? It could be from having BP and glucose monitoring machines at home. It kind of eases that whole process of caregiving. In fact, recently I had a few seniors who was hospitalized, and I know from personal experience, especially over the last 10 years, right, that these equipments and the ability to have access to this has improved drastically over the 10 years.
Yes,
for sure. So recently, when I had a senior who was hospitalized and needed post-hospitalization care, I could rent a hospital bed because she had a pulmonary respiratory sort of infection, and so she had to have an elevated back. So I could have in a hospital bed in the comfort of my home. And if the senior also has Alzheimer's, so hospitals are just never a fun place to be, both for the caregiver as well as for the patient, because it's not a comfortable environment. So
or a
the healing
one.
and the healing and the recovery, it's a world of a difference when you're doing it at home versus at a hospital, right? So having that environment set up at home, I could even get an oxygen concentrator machine. I could rent one for a month or 3 months or even up to a year. I mean, there are different plans. I could have a registered nurse at my disposal. So yes, it comes with a cost, but the very fact that these are now available to the middle class group, right, the middle income group, which was not the case even 15 years ago. We didn't even have this facility, or it would have been very, very expensive, right, and not as affordable. So essentially, I think the fact that these are now there in the market at different price points, and yes, we need to put regulations in place, because safety comes into question when some of these devices are not functioning properly, or right, and when we have things like BPAPs, and you can actually even have an ICU set up at home, right? And so those things really require safety, and that's medical safety and of the equipment and oversight too, right? So that's one thing, and of course telemedicine. I think that's picked up, especially pandemic time. We saw that we used a lot of it, and now seniors can independently live without depending on others, especially with telemedicine, and having you can set up appointments, have for minor kind of ailments, they could just do it over the phone with their personal doctor or the physician that they're
especially in a case I mean when taking care of a senior at my home, like a stroke patient who obviously they have neuropathy, so it's difficult to walk and things. So that way telemedicine has come in handy, because if there's something that you feel needs to be addressed, rather than having to get into transportation and go all the way to the hospital or the doctor, even if it's as close as maybe 2 kilometers away. It's still arduous for someone in pain all the time to have to get up and get into the car and then go to this thing and then wait there for your appointment to begin.
Absolutely.
So that way telemedicine definitely, I would say, has come in handy for sure.
And I think the challenges with aging is that, right, and we'll be touching upon it a little later as well, in terms of urban planning too, right? Ensuring that we have the facilities and that it is senior friendly. Homes or even public spaces are senior friendly, because I can relate to what you're saying. Like, for me to get my parents ready to take them for an appointment, I need to kind of ensure things are in place the previous day, and then I'm ensuring that I have enough buffer time, because for them to get ready and just to get out of the home, and then from the home to the car, and then from the car to the hospital, right? Everything is it requires time, right? Because they're physically not as fast as they used to be. We need to be careful. Safety comes into the picture. So just planning that out to take a senior to the hospital can be like literally a half day or a full day's effort, right? Sometimes. So having telemedicine, yes, that does make a big difference, and even the seniors are more comfortable doing it from home.
So broadly, of the areas that we've seen movement in the market for in the silver economy
Right.
would be, we'd have home and institutional care.
Right.
And this would be in the form of, let's say, caretakers or attendants that we have, agencies that help support taking care of seniors at home.
Right.
And this comes with a whole slew of issues, difficulties in taking care of this thing. So, for one, the attendants often sent by the agencies don't have a lot of medical training.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, excuse me. So, they don't have a lot of medical training. So, the care that they give, the attention they give to the patient might be lacking. They also, there's some who come who are underaged. They're not. There's not a lot of regulation that exists around the attendance that the agencies send. Right. While the agencies themselves are registered, they have to go through a process of registration.
Right.
And maybe the attendants themselves will have police verification that some agencies will diligently do. There's some agencies that don't do that. So you don't know the quality of the attendance that you're getting. At the same time, there will be attendants that have medical training but will cost a lot more and therefore would be inaccessible to a lot of middle class or low income families that can't afford it.
Right.
Because the more experience they have, the more expensive they will be. And also a lot of the attendants, they will only want to do or focus on certain areas that they want to work in and not really want to do anything else in the home when taking care of the senior. So that brings a whole, that means that to compensate for the areas that the tenant is not taking care of, the families have to hire another person to take care of other areas.
Rising cost again.
Right? Yeah, again, rising cost. So, and again, if the patient's medical situation is of a higher severity, which means that the attendant that you hire would have to have more experience. The medical equipment that you have at home will also be more expensive. So it just comes to, again, there's not a lot of regulation around that. And also in terms of the attendants themselves, there are a lot of women who are doing this work.
Right.
The environment has to be made safe for them, especially if it's a family where there are, where there are a lot of men at home.
Right.
So there's not a lot of regulation or care given to how the female attendant would be treated at home. So it's a lot of unregulated, uncharted kind of ground. Like you have the agencies, you have attendants, but the work that they do is kind of goes unchecked.
Absolutely. And I think this is a market failure that we need to address, right?
Yeah.
It's asymmetric information with respect to even awareness of whether these attendants who come in, mostly they're migrant workers. They come in from outside of the state, like in Bangalore itself, my personal experience. The caregivers or the attendants I've had, I had to keep 24/7 for my parents because I live with my in-laws and I've moved my parents close to where I live, but I need to have somebody with them because one of the seniors has Alzheimer's, other is a heart patient. So to ensure that they have that care 24/7 was a need and a necessity, and which is why I had to depend. And it's a good thing. And a good thing in the sense that these agencies are available. Maybe even 15 years ago, this would not have been the case. Either if they were, it would have been far and in between, and the cost would have been prohibitive, for sure. But I think that's the good thing that the fact that the market is now providing for this. But like you mentioned, the fact that many of them come in and they're not passionate about what they do, and it's natural, right? They're coming in because there's an opportunity in the cities. They're coming from villages, different culture, different language.
It might pay more than the usual, work in shops or.
Absolutely, right? And it's most of the time safer as well because you're in a home environment, the food is provided for in the shelter. And you're
there's
just
no
getting,
rent to
there's
be
no
paid
rent
for.
to be paid for. Of course, agencies take quite a bit of a cut, and that's where the regulations have to come in place. Because we have three stakeholders here. We have the agency, we have the attendants or the caregivers,
Yeah.
and then we have the home or the family who's seeking this care, right?
Yes.
All three interests have to be safeguarded.
Yeah.
Agencies do take a larger cut because many of these attendants who come, and they're typically in the age group 18 to 24, their education possibly just finished their 12th max.
Yes.
So they're coming, they're not that well educated, so they might not be able to read or write as well. So there's an intermediary, an agent somewhere in the village who kind of sources them and then sends them over to the city. So they have, again, there's a nexus there.
Yeah.
And then so these girls, and I've most of the time I've had lady attendants at home.
Yeah.
So I can easily tell you that many of them are coming in first time that they're visiting a city. It's a new life for them. Many of them have distractions also. The mobile is a big distraction. So sometimes even training them to say, be attentive. When you have your breaks, you can look at your mobile, you can do your stuff, but then please be attentive. Because it's that age group when you can't expect them to be that accountable.
Yes.
Right? So the training that the agencies provide for these attendants is very minimal, though they tell us that they have been trained, they know how to do ABC. It's only the RNs or the registered nurses who will have better medical knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, and they come, as you mentioned, at a much higher cost. And 24/7 to have them when they'll be only focusing on the medical needs and not on the other care. And this could be, I said, making sure that the senior has the meals heated and ready during mealtime, ensuring that they are running the small errands at home. It could be just loading the washing machine with and getting that job done, overseeing the other small things at home, right? Answering the door when someone comes. So these sort of errands the RNs will not do. So you end up having to then have somebody else, recruit somebody else for that, and that can be very expensive. So I think the regulations around these, I'm just giving a few examples of anecdotal experiences I've had. So there are regulations around all of these to safeguard from both safety as well as the quality of care.
Yeah,
that's important.
And apart from having a caretaker at home or an attendant at home, you'll have home for the aged, places or facilities that are constructed specifically for senior citizens, right? So you can have independent living accommodation for seniors who are not unwell but are active, are on their feet but still need monitoring or need someone to be there. So they just need security, a community, not a lot of upkeep for them. Then you have assisted living,
right.
So which will then be for personal care. Medication is given to them. There's special management given to them, and a lot of religious institutions also do this They have a lot of setup. They've set up a lot of institutions like this. Then you have retirement communities, nursing homes, old age homes. That kind of and memory care also for Alzheimer's patients.
Now with dementia on the rise.
Yes. So you have these organizations as well, but again, they're expensive. You have to pay for the rent for the apartment. If the senior will expect a lot of family members, then they'll have to rent a space that will have another bedroom so that a family can stay there.
Right.
So that also gets a lot more expensive. And this kind of leads into what are the insurance and financial products or schemes in place that could actually help a lot of these
to provide for that.
Yeah,
and currently we don't have schemes that provide for living, right, for housing. The interesting thing is that in the June 2025 draft for the national policy for senior citizens, right, it is specifically highlighting improving standards of these old age homes. Now, remember, old age homes, the way it's coined, right, and the impression one has, and I have visited some of these old age homes. You could have the complete spectrum, right? You could have the homes which are essentially run out of these in these residential areas, in these residential pockets. So multi-storied, where you have basic facilities, very poor conditions. So the quality of life there is that they're just literally going through the emotions. The seniors there, and they've been put there because they've not either they don't have care at home, adequate care at home, or they've not been able to. Maybe they're living in a different city, but it's deplorable. I've seen conditions of that kind. At the same time, you have some of these old age homes, which are now termed as retirement homes, where there's more life there, right? I mean, you have these events that they have around different festivals. The nutrition is also very good. They have a good spread for catering to different medical needs. So the hot meals that are served throughout the day, but this comes at a price. Right? But so the good thing is that these are now available. So from your old age homes, the way it used to be earlier, to retirement homes and even premium retirement homes, you have those going into the crores, where, as you mentioned earlier too, right, the seniors can actually buy a unit. This could be a studio, it could be a few multi-bedroom home. And then they all have the facilities around. They have accessible parks. They have medical care 24/7. They have also a community in which there are others, peers of their age group who they can interact with, and they can kind of actively live out life, right? They can enjoy their retirement days. So we do have this at different price points. Interestingly, the senior living, so this is this category that we mentioned, and then there's also the senior housing, right? That's booming now. It's now a $7 billion industry in India. Okay, and it's growing at a 15% annual growth rate.
Yeah.
So that's huge. It's also because the senior, that demographic have more disposable income now. And which is from the 1991 reforms, once the markets opened up. It also ensured that the middle income group have access to products and services for their demographics. And then interestingly, now the seniors are also wanting to live out the life they independently the way they want to. So they have money at their disposal. You have products in the market. You have the housing that's now catering for that need. And so that's a good thing, and which is why you're seeing that 15% annual growth rate.
But also given that, so currently I think the penetration also of health insurance in the market, I mean, of people opting for health insurance early on is just about 10%.
Wow.
And if you have, and if we are genetically predisposed to diabetes and hypertension and cardiovascular diseases, then we are going to see a doubling of buy-ins of health insurance over the next decade.
Right. And it needs to start early, right? Take your insurance. And I think now that the youth are more aware of this, right? The fact that because of the increased life expectancy, you need to also plan for your retirement well ahead in time. So the insurances that they're taking up, the premiums are less when you do so at a younger age. But it's exorbitant when you go into trying to get an insurance, which is now possible. Earlier it was not possible for seniors. But now you can get insurance, medical insurance, but you need to pay through your course.
And treatments are just getting more expensive. Equipment is getting more expensive, and as we've discussed, getting care is getting more expensive.
Absolutely.
So there are, I think, government policies in place that do actually do that. Apart from the Ayushman Bharat, which you had mentioned before. So, but the government policies that are in place are just to help with the affordability of generic medicines.
That's true. And you have these Jan Aushadhi outlets, right, that have cropped up, especially over the recent years. And we do see that many of these generic medicines, right, are now affordable to the lower income group. And that's very important, because remember, what we were talking about all along is for middle income and upper middle income and groups who can afford all of this, right? From your assistive devices, medical devices, to the extended caregiving options. But think about the lower income groups and who can't even have a square meal on the table, right? And they're thinking about that on a daily basis. They're not going to think about medication, and they're not going to think about retirement or how the elderly at their home are going to be cared for. Right? That's the last of their worries. So the Ayushman Bharat has kind of scheme has helped somewhat in that. But I think moving on to society, and I think that's an important factor too that we need to look at, is that society too has to play a larger role. It's funny how many of these traditional or cultural right? In India, especially when we were living as joint families and we had multiple generations living under one roof. We used to have ancestral homes where generations have lived together. Because of opportunities, because of especially after the 1991 reforms, we saw a big shift, right? The cities, there are more opportunities in the cities. It's more viable to migrate. And when we saw that shift, we also saw the breaking down very slowly of the social fabric.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And as a result, because there are more nuclear families, the community or even generations have not seen what it is like to live under the same roof.
Yeah.
When you live together, you're also there to kind of care and provide for. It could be a senior, it could be even for baby care, but you're caring for different generations under one roof. And so as society has slowly losing out on having first-hand experience in that, it also means that many of these more holistic ecosystems that culturally we used to have is slowly kind of fading away. Right?
Yeah.
And so it also means, of course, it's also because of youth education, urbanization, and the rising cost that people can't afford to all live together. And the interesting part is that even our seniors who are traditionally used to a certain way of living in their native homes, they're familiar with their friend circles. For them to move away and live with their children is also not. It's not a fair option, right? The times when seniors are having to move, and I know of seniors who have moved to the US because their family is there, they have no one else in India, but then they're not living a complete life there because they're so dependent then on their
and
children.
their mental health, their well-being is dependent
on
being
right?
on a place that's familiar to them, that they know. I mean,
could
they
be
don't
language,
handle
culture,
and they don't handle change very well as you get older.
Absolutely. Right?
So
this is where society has to be sensitized to it and then kind of play that role. And the June 2025 draft, in fact, funnily talks about intergenerational integration. So essentially, you're bringing back what
the traditional thing that we're losing out on.
And telling community has to play a larger role in ensuring elders' well-being.
Yeah. And even, and I think we were talking about this earlier in terms of urban planning and getting seniors, just the difficulty of getting seniors out of the home, and you have to take them to the hospital, taking them for their appointments. And because we spoke about telemedicine previously and how it's come in handy in the same, but it's not just for taking seniors for appointments and things like that. It's also being able to take them out just to walk down the road.
A change of scene, right?
Yeah.
Away from
the infrastructure for the roads, is not always the best.
Right.
I do know that there have been an increase in the number of parks in different localities, and they've installed exercise machines and things like that, and also a lot of greenery such that it's fresh in the morning. And also there are people of all ages there. It's not just elderly, but I can see change happening in these localities when there are parks and things like this. But urban planning does feature in heavily here.
Absolutely, right. Now that because of the increase in life expectancy, we need to kind of cater to the different age groups.
Yeah.
Right? And so having age-specific infrastructure, ensuring that our towns, our public spaces are senior-friendly.
Yeah.
It could be just having ramps next to the staircase, the stairway, for wheelchair, having wheelchair assistance. It could be having grab bars where seniors would need some help stepping up.
Yeah.
It could be also ensuring that the anti-skipped flooring. We have had, in fact, that's one of the greatest fall the risks, right?
Yeah.
That seniors have is falls, right? And this could be from your washrooms to just near a one step, right, where they need to take
or even
a step
when
up.
it rains and the pavements are wet and slippery.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or the gradient of the slope is too much, right? And they cannot navigate that. So we need to have handrails. So I think these could be very small things that urban planners could incorporate. But with the growing aging population, it is important we do that. Otherwise, again, the quality of life gets compromised. If someone has a fall, then they become bedridden, and then it becomes the quality of their life deteriorates.
Yeah.
And we've seen that even in countries like Japan, where the aging population is now much larger than the working population, and then they're facing a lot of challenges there. Right?
Yeah.
So in India, I think it's imperative that we kind of think about solutions now, especially urban planning and other things where pavements are walkable. We know that there are a lot of challenges, even just crossing the road in some cases. So I think these things have to be incorporated into the public spaces, especially.
Yeah. So I think given that we've had such an advancement between 1999 and 2025 in a matter of 25, 26 years, I think we can have some hope about schemes in place, things coming into place. And we've discussed also the role that the government has played, the role that the markets are playing, and that our society is playing. We have a foundation for a legal and constitutional directives.
Exactly. Yes.
We've also delved into the silver economy, the rise of the silver economy, and that there is a growing market to take care of seniors, and as a society, we just stress on the fundamentals of the cultural shift, but also accepting that aging is a natural progression in life, and it's not really a disease.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's important for us to remember, right? That we age gracefully, we allow our elders or the seniors to have a dignified life as well. So we sensitize the community towards that, and as individuals, right, we're sensitive to that. Because aging gracefully and with that dignity is, I think, a natural thing that we should ensure our seniors have.
And thank you so much for this conversation. I hope there are a lot of takeaways for those watching, for those listening in. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you for hosting.
And if you enjoy conversations like these, if you want to be part of the change, understand how you can be a part of the change, we do have a graduate certificate and public policy program where we have 3 specializations, one in advanced public policy, tech in policy, and we also have one in defense and foreign affairs. So we have a cohort starting on Jan 10th, 2026. So if you're interested, you can apply now on our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Leah.